it's my belief that Roe versus Wade, and being that it was sent back to the states and it was removed from the federal level as far as its validity. Um, I think currently men and women both have equal rights in regards to assuming they're in a state that has outlawed abortion. They now have the same rights as women, or the same rights as men, being that neither one of us are allowed to abort a child. Your thoughts on Roe versus Wade? I'm not here to completely. I'm one of those people that sits on the fence because I don't care about abortion whatsoever as long as it's not my child. I'm one of those people that just sits out and I sit on the beach, mind my business, sipping on my stuff, and I observe the chaos as it happens. And I'm like, I don't care what y'all do as long as it doesn't involve me. And of course, I always talk about how accountability starts with, all right, if I put my member into someone else's member and I ejaculate my DNA, of course that's my responsibility. That's my decision making. And of course, it's consensual. All these different variables you got to include there. But it starts first with, all right, if I want my outcomes to be appropriate or to be rational or to be peaceful, choose wisely who you engage with, man. So it starts with me first. And like if you approach somebody who's just giving away for free and then you get her pregnant and now she coming for your bank statements, of course you're gonna take this L, bro. Like you knew what you was doing, bro. You saw easy money and then you took it and you realized, all right, yeah, this stuff was hot. Now you're gonna take this L for the next 18 to 20 years, whatever. But beyond that, let's assume that you haven't been deceived and you thought you pursued correctly. Once a man ejaculates, he has zero rights to what happens after that. And I think a lot of men have lived in a world where we just, whatever happens, happens. I'll be waiting for the child support garnishments, what if that happens, or I'll wait for her lawyer to contact my lawyer. But there's never a point where men just decide, I don't want to be a parent. I know I had sex with you consensually. I know I ejaculated my person upon your person, and I know you've conceived a fetus or a child or embryo, whatever you want to call it. All these again semantics 101. Uh, but at no point does a man get to decide I don't want to be a parent, whereas women had the right to choose
Correct.
and still have the right in certain states. If I want to be a parent, I can decide I don't want to be a parent. So I think if you're in a state where you don't have the right to choose, you're now equal to men. And so I think you're right that there's a lot of rights that women have. And I'm not going to try to list them because I don't think it's a lot. Um, but I think in reality, we've observed women have some rights that men don't have. And that's definitely not equality. But again, back to my original premise, which I don't think I mentioned yet, I think men and women are different. And I think we
They
live
are.
different lives because we're designed and created
Correct.
differently. It's a
Correct.
privilege to have a child. Men don't get to
Correct.
experience that. We are
Correct.
different by design to solve two different problems or different problems in general, and we complement each other very well. But yeah, your thoughts on Roe versus Wade and how it's currently.
So, again, telling on feminism, reproduction rights, immigration, sexual liberation, all of those are extension of feminism. Um, so when it comes to Roe versus Wade, um, at first I had similar sentiments like you, like, well, as long as it don't affect me, it don't matter. But then I had to realize that individually we are all a part of a collective, so to a degree
Mm,
things that we do individually do affect all of us.
yeah.
Kind of like what we were speaking about earlier, like, okay, yeah, you got that one ghetto girl, and because you share a reflection with her, it does affect you to a certain degree.
Mm,
And so I changed my views around that. Now, I 100% agree with you that people should be more responsible and who they sleep with and lay down with unprotected. So I think that Roe versus Wade being overturned, first of all, I'm glad that it was, because how are we going to make something a constitutional right, but it don't apply to everybody that's supposed to be in the Constitution? Men can't
yeah.
abort children, so how is that a fair law to put in place to make a federal decision on? I think about how when you kill a woman and she's pregnant, you get charged with feticide and homicide. So
Mm,
how is it that you can get charged with feticide for killing a pregnant woman, but a woman can say, "Oh, I don't want the baby, and I can just kill it because it's my body, my choice." Like, that to
mm,
me doesn't really make sense. It's kind of like a double standard. And then just thinking about the origination of Roe versus Wade, it was a lying white woman. I mean,
Mm,
I'm sorry. Let me just talk about that for she lied. It was a 21-year-old female who, again, entitled. I want to be sexually liberated. I just want to have sex with who I want. She was 21 years old. She was on her, this was her second or third kid, I believe. And she didn't want to have the kid. And because she couldn't get an abortion, because back in that time, you only could get an abortion if you was raped.
mm,
She was convinced by her friends, well, go lie and say you was raped by a gang of black guys so you can go get a police report, and then that way you can go get an abortion. But that lie didn't fall through. So she basically wasn't able to get the abortion. But then two more of her feminist, sisters came along and was like, oh, wow, well, we're lawyers and we can help you fight this. So let's go ahead and do it. And so they basically helped her get Roe versus Wade passed, even though
mm,
she lied about even being raped. She was just sexually liberated or promiscuous, however you want to call it, at 21 years old. And that was the whole reason that Roe versus Wade got passed. It got passed off of a lie. And so I
mm,
don't think that that's fair, and I don't think that that's cool. And the fact that she tried to lie and say it was black men that did that to her to try to make it stick, and then they turned around and carried it through. And then the crazy part about it all is, after this happened in 1969, they fought this case for like 2 or 3 years. In 1973, they finally passed Roe versus Wade, and she ended up having the kid and putting the kid up for adoption. And they
yeah,
concealed her identity. Her name is not even Roe or Wade or whichever one. Her name was Norma McCorvey. And then
wow.
before she died, she came out and talked about how, oh, she don't believe in abortions no more. She changed her life and all of this and that. It's like, what the heck? It's like,
Mm,
what? And the part that makes me, kind of mad when I think about it is now, we have more. It was more black women getting abortions over those decades. And just think about how detrimental that was to our community. We only, like you said earlier, we only make up a small percentage of the population. Well, damn, that's
mm,
because the kids is getting sucked out off of the strength of, oh, I don't want to be married and I just wanted to have sex, and oh, this is just a cluster of cells, so just pull it out of me. And,
mm,
and and when you think about it, it was something that was passed because it wasn't something that was beneficial for black people in the first place. It wasn't something that we even had a dog in the fight, in the first place. And now, just like everything else, we band together to keep this moving forward. And now it's more hurtful and detrimental to us, today, when this wasn't even something that we had anything to do with. And I mean, conspiracy, call it conspiracy theory or whatever, but the white population is declining. So that's why they had to, I think that's another reason why that they overturned it as well, um allow. I just don't think that you should have access to
wow.
on demand abortions, period.
That's
If
crazy.
you want to talk about, the white population decline and all that, that's the reason they had to overturn it, because yeah, they don't want these white girls to just be going and getting abortions no more. But if you think about the time back in the 60s and 70s, where, okay, if black men just running around raping white girls, oh, yeah, let's hurry up and put abortions on the thing because we don't want that to happen. But now it's actually adverse to the white community, and it's adverse to our community as well. And so they're like, okay, yeah, let's overturn this because And I just think it's crazy. I'm the type of person, let's get ahead of the problem. We shouldn't be sitting up here having sexual liberation and being promiscuous and then turning around and getting abortions. What about closing your damn legs and choosing who you have sex with better? Like
Mm,
Kevin Samuels used to always say, marry before you carry. Because yeah, if this man ain't even good enough to be married to or to have a lifetime commitment to, why would you lay up and have his seed and bring his seed to full term? That don't even make sense. So I don't think that women should have access to on-demand abortions. And then on top of that, they beg for birth control before that with Margaret Sanger. So if you were supposed to be using birth control, why do it need to get all the way to abortions? I don't really understand that. So
I'm thoroughly impressed by the way you just kind of explain things so thoroughly, especially with his historical references and precedences. It never occurred to me, obviously, and I think Elon Musk made reference to this on a recent podcast, where like the population is kind of is declining, and even in China, where like they're removing the one child rule, where people are
Right.
just not having children, and like in a lot of cases, a lot of men are not having as a lot of sex as they once were, especially under rules of monogamy and traditional, before
Right.
the internet, where people were just so close, where you can just swipe right on so quickly.
Right.
Before that, you just had your town to work with. I watched the movie yesterday, where the crawdads sing, and it was I think it took place in like the early 1900s or mid
Mm.
1900s, and like that's all I had to choose from. It was a great
Mm-hmm.
movie, by the way. I wasn't expected to be a good movie. I was just kind of bored, so I'm like, let me go watch a movie. Um, but yeah, it's just I never thought of it in that way. As what if they overturned? And again, we can pause that causation, but it's speculation. But what if they said the population is declining, we're getting less taxes because as people die, we're just not getting more people to. We got to pay these taxes, bro. We got to get this bread. It kind of makes sense. Whereas, like, if we overturn Roe versus Wade, these kids are gonna keep popping out again. And obviously, it's not they didn't completely do away with it. They just sent it to the states. But if you get half the states getting more children, you get more taxes.